as we try to find a rhythm amongst the noise of this world, tuning the strings of our soul to feel we have a place in this orchestra of life. We find sometimes that we get lost amongst the oceans of sound. We dance and move our way through it all and find meaning, just trying to fit into this place and the people around us. Doing this on our own, we find we lose the rhythm. It is only through the grace of God we truly find our place in this world. When we walk alongside Christ, He fills us with purpose. Only then we truly find our rhythm as we join in His orchestra. We learn to move in sync with God and His plan for us all. Letting God use us, the noise of this world becomes faint, and the rhythm of God becomes clear.
So we are in the middle of this series that is all about faith and works and finding a balance in being saved by faith and what our faith means in our lives, and also this idea of faith producing works and works affecting our daily actions in the way that we handle our faith. And so last week was all about simply this idea that we are saved by grace. We can't do anything to earn it. We can't do anything to make God love us more. We can't do anything to make God love us less. He loves us. And if you guys want to hear more about that, I'd love for you, if you didn't get to hear that, to go check that out. It's on YouTube, on my personal Facebook page, and the student ministry Facebook page. Check that out, because I really go into depth into that, and I think it'd be a great thing for you guys to hear if you haven't heard it. Tonight, we are talking about this idea of working out our faith. And I know that seems kind of contradictory, because last week I said, hey, you're not saved by works. Like, you can try and try and try and try and try, and it's not going to make God love you more, and it's not going to make God love you any less. And tonight we're talking about, all right, but there has to be this moment where we work out our faith, and what does all that mean, and how does all that come together? At the end of this month, September 29th, I will have been married to my incredible wife for 13 years. There we are, little young people just freshly married. And she is absolutely incredible. The way that she loves people is beyond anything that I have ever experienced in another person in my entire life. The way that she solves problems creatively is mind-blowing. She just is incredible. Like, you come to her with an issue and she's like, hey, have you thought about this? And it's like, that's so obvious and yet so brilliant all at the same time. And she's just a ton of fun. I mean, I love life with her. It's just awesome. But hey, here's what I realized. As I look back over 13 years and I look at this picture of young CJ, if I had to go back and talk to him again, I would say, all right, CJ, you know nothing about being a good husband. Nothing. And granted, like, I dated her, and, you know, we had chemistry, and you know, we were in love with each other. We are in love with each other, and we decided to get married. But when I look at the idea of being a husband, and I look back at myself, like, if I'm honest with you, I was pretty selfish. And I knew how to do life for CJ. I had lived on my own. I had gone to college on my own. I had taken care of myself, and I knew how to do life for CJ. But when I thought about doing life with another person and what that truly meant, and the give and the take and the sacrifices, I knew nothing about being a good husband. I was selfish, and I had a hard time admitting when I was wrong, and I was pretty arrogant. And in the book of Philippians, Paul is writing to this church in Philippi. And he's writing to this church, excuse me, hold on. Sorry, I've had this cold or allergies, I'm not sure what it is, that has just been hanging on. But in the book of Philippians, Paul is writing to this church called Philippi. And this church is a pretty special church. When you look at all of the letters that Paul wrote to the churches, which make up the books of our New Testament, a lot of the letters were written to churches to say, hey, you're doing this wrong. There's a better way to do it. Let me show you that better way. And when you look at the book of Philippians was written to these people to say, hey, you are doing an awesome job. You are a fantastic church. Keep going. Let me show you how you can take a next step, because you are just killing it. You're doing fantastic. And so in chapter 2, he says this: therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, so now, not only in my presence, but much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God who works in you, both to will and to work for his good pleasure. Paul says something here that is actually kind of surprising when we think about what we talked about last week. He says, therefore, as you have always obeyed, so now in my presence as much as in my absence, work out your own faith. Work out your own faith. Now, I know what you're thinking, because I'm thinking the same thing. Paul, who is writing this verse, is the same guy who wrote another letter that we talked about last week, a book that comes just before this in the New Testament. In the book of Ephesians, he says this, and this is what we talked about last week. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith. It's not of your own doing. It's a gift of God, not a result of works. All right, so if you set these two verses side by side, it looks like Paul is contradicting himself. And so the question that comes up, the question that arises in my mind, I don't know if this arises in your mind or not, but here's what I'm thinking. Okay, Paul, you've written a letter to a church called Ephesus that says you're saved by grace, not by works. And then you turn around and you write another letter to a church in Philippi that says, work out your own salvation. Which one is it? Are we saved by grace, or are we saved by works? Are we called to work out our own salvation? Seems like that's a pretty big discrepancy. And my question to you tonight is, what do we do with that? How do we handle that? How do we handle it when Paul says one thing and then says another? Are we saved by grace? Or are we supposed to be working out our own salvation? I don't do this very often. But tonight, I want to go a little bit deeper than I normally do when we're looking at the Bible verses. All right? And so hang with me, because what we're going to do tonight is we're going to take the main verse we're focusing on, the verse in Philippians, and we're going to look at some Greek words and what they actually mean. And I think it's going to give us a lot of clarity, not only on what Paul is saying, but how it applies to our life. Because here's the deal, guys. When we look at faith and works, and we look at how we are saved and how that salvation affects our daily lives and the things that we do, it's really important that we get this right. It's really important that we don't fall into the rhythm that we talked about last week, where we feel like we have to work harder and harder and harder and harder and harder to earn God's love, because at the end of the day, God loves you. Whether you work hard or not, God loves you. And I want to remind us that when we work hard to earn God's love, we are trying to find our own worthiness. But God already said we're worthy. And so it's really important that we get this right. It's really important that we soak this in and we understand what God is saying to us and about us and our lives and our salvation. So we're gonna dig in here in the order that it kind of happens in our lives, okay? So first things first, we have to understand we are saved by grace. We don't earn it. This idea of working harder and harder and harder to earn God's love, which I talked about that all last week. Please go back and watch that because I fell into this in my own life. Like, this was my habit. I just worked to earn God's love. And on good days, I said, God really loves me. And on bad days, I said, I suck. God cannot possibly love me. But on both of those days, God looks at me and he says, I love you. And so we have to understand this first. We are saved because God said, you're loved and you're saved. And then we can go into this verse in Philippians. And in this verse in Philippians, we have to understand a couple of different words that Paul uses for the word work throughout this verse. He says, because we're saved and loved, we begin to work out our own salvation, for it is God who works in us. All right, so there's work falls here, work out our own salvation, and work falls here. There is God that works in us. In English, those are the same word, work and work. In Greek, they are completely different words. Completely different words. This work right here, and I think I've got a slide for this, maybe. Yes, is this really long word that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. And here's what it means. So work and work out your own salvation is not so much about working to earn something. It's not like, man, I got to work really hard so I can earn my salvation. I gotta put in the hours so I can get the paycheck, and at the end of the day, the paycheck is my salvation. It's not like that at all. It's always used with this idea of bringing to completion or becoming whole, becoming what was intended, what was created to be. And then he goes on to say, for you work out your salvation because it's God that works in you. And when we look at this work for God who works in you, it's this other Greek word that I'm also not going to try to pronounce. And it's always used by an action of God. It's not something of us. It's not anything we do. And this action of God is always effective. All right, I'm done talking about Greek. All right, I'm done going into the Greek language. So y'all can zone back in if you were zoned out. I understand. That's okay. So here's what it comes down to is this. We're saved by grace. God says you're loved, you're saved. I did it. I did it for you because I thought you were worthy of it. Regardless of what you do in your life, I felt like you were worthy of it, and so I did it. And then he says, all right, let's work out our salvation. Let's make our salvation complete. And how do we do that? We let God work his always effective work through us. Do you see what happened there? God saved us. Whether we try harder or not, God said, you're worthy, I saved you. And then God said, you girls paying attention? And then God said, all right, now I'm going to work through you to make your salvation complete. And we just have to fall in to the rhythm that Jesus has for our lives. This rhythm of letting go. This rhythm of allowing Jesus to work through us, allowing Jesus to help us be better people. 13 years ago, I married Kirsten. And it was an incredible day because she became my wife. And I was so excited to be married to her. But as I look back on 13 years ago, between where we were then and where we are now, I realize I had no idea how to be a husband. You guys paying attention? But over the years, because Kirsten has loved me, she has made me a better husband. She has made me a better person. She has helped me look at my own children when they have these big feelings and validate their feelings. She has helped me truly and honestly love the people that are around me. She has helped me become more ethical in my daily decisions and the things that I do. She has helped me loosen up and just have fun and relax. I'm kind of a person that's like task after task after task after task, and she's totally helped me slow down and celebrate the small things in life. And here's what I realized after 13 years of being married to Kirsten is that her love has invaded every part of my life. And if you look at the things that I am involved in and the things that I do on a daily basis, her love has invaded and changed me. And because of that, my relationship with her, you guys paying attention, Austin? You're kind of laughing. It's not even a funny part. Alden, you paying attention? Because of that, our marriage has become more complete. Now, hear me. We've been through some really, really hard times in our marriage. We've been through some tough stuff, and we've fought for it. And our love has become more complete because of it. And here's what I'm convinced of. 13 years from now, I will look back on today and I will say, wow, I had no idea how to be a husband. Because every day and every year with my wife, we are working out our marriage, not in the sense that, man, I gotta try harder to love my wife better. I gotta try harder and do more and do more and do more and do more. That's not what she expects of me. What she expects is that we grow together and our marriage becomes more and more and more complete. And you guys, it's that way with our faith. I was baptized in 1993 at the age of 10, and I had no idea what it meant to be a Christian. Granted, I say no idea. I knew that Jesus died for my sins. I knew that I was getting baptized and accepting him as my Savior. But when I look back at that, my faith is so much more complete now. I've worked out my faith. And it's not been a thing of where I've worked it out because I've tried harder and I've done more and I've been more the person. No, it's just God coming in and working through me and challenging certain areas of my life and allowing him to invade every aspect of who I am. And my faith has become more complete. And 93 was, what, 30 years ago? 30 years ago. 30 years from now, I will look back on today and I will say, wow, I had no idea what I was doing following Jesus because my faith has become so much more complete. And you see, guys, this is the way this works, is that we work out our salvation until the day we die. And it's not this idea of trying harder. It's this idea of allowing God to come in us and work through us and invade every aspect of our life and allowing him to challenge who we are and allowing our faith to become more and more and more complete. You see, we work out our salvation. We are saved by grace, not by works. It's not this idea of trying harder. But then we work out our salvation. We become more complete. And how do we do that? We allow God to work in us because his work is always effective. And the way that you work out your salvation is going to be different than the way that I work out my salvation. The way that your marriages or future marriages become more complete, the way you work out your marriage is going to be different than the way that Kirsten and I work out our marriage. And so there's no step-by-step process of saying, step 1, you got to try harder. And step 2, you got to take this step. And step 3, you got to make sure you do this on a daily basis. No. It's simply this. You allow God to come in and you allow him to invade your life. And when you feel in the gut of who you are, him saying, hey, have you thought about this in your life? You listen to it. You allow him to work. Allow him to change you. And your salvation and your relationship with him becomes more and more complete. And that will look different for every single person in this room. And so, I want to give you a practical challenge. And it is the same practical challenge that I gave you last week. Because I think it is so important that we soak this in. And guys, I would challenge you that every day you simply pause for a moment and you invite Jesus in and you say, make my faith complete. Help me work out my salvation. Not by trying harder, but just by making me more complete with you. Every day, pause. And just think about that. What would it mean for you today to invite Jesus in and let him invade and for you to work out your salvation? Let me pray for you guys. God, thank you so much for tonight.